I was writing a script to explain this concept to you guys. I planned to add some important pointers, try a few different perspectives to make it clear. But then I realized, why complicate it? I'd rather share my embarrassing early design experience because that will actually help you understand this concept very well. It is very embarrassing, guys, but I'll share it with you anyways. Okay, none of the early design works that I did was actually mine. I reverse engineered the solution. I'd find inspirations first and then try to fit the solution into it. Yeah, let me explain. Back then, whenever I'm working on a project, I didn't know where to start. Immediately, the anxiety kicks in. So instead of thinking about the users, I'd open Behance and Dribbble and start hunting for inspirations. I'd only look for inspirations which has hundreds and thousands of likes, beautiful gradients, perfect spacing, and the glass morphism everyone was using back then. After collecting it, I dissect each and every inspirations to pick the best parts out of them, and then combine those best parts together to create a design. Basically, I'm Frankensteining the design, and then I'll somehow make my solution fit into that aesthetic. The design would look good, but if you ask me whether it was functional, that's a big question mark. Sometimes it was easy, the solution would fit the style I wanted, but sometimes I had to modify the solution itself. Like I change the information architecture, add unnecessary elements, and remove the necessary and important ones just to make it look like the inspiration that I've collected. This is where things took a turn. A random person appreciated one such design of mine. I was very happy till the point he appreciated. But the following question broke me into pieces. Even if you were in that situation, you would have asked the same question, or anyone would have asked the same question. It is one of the most simplest questions, guys. You know what the question was? How did you do it? How did you do it? That question. That's the simplest question, guys. I know that the question was asked out of curiosity, but what do you want me to answer? That I Frankenstein the entire design? I couldn't find one useful or functional reason for why I designed it. That's obvious because I never thought about a functional reason, right, in the first place. I felt very embarrassed about my work, guys. At that exact moment, none of the work that I did felt like mine. If you zoom out a little, you can understand what's really happening. I was in comparison mode. That's why every design decision felt very heavy for me. Because I never thought about how my solutions would help the users. I only thought about whether other designers would approve it or not. Basically, I was not solving any problems. I was just performing in front of an invisible audience. And I don't know whether they exist or not. And it was exhausting because no matter how many likes and views I get, there is always someone with a better design, cleaner aesthetic, and a more impressive work. Okay, coming back to my story. I stared at that design thinking, how would I have designed this if I actually designed it? Why didn't I think about the users first? I felt very embarrassed about my work and I decided from now on, function over aesthetics and user over validation. By user, I mean the business of the product and the people who use the product. I boldly decided it, but I didn't know where to start. I thought, okay, look at what successful products do and copy their pattern. Like search bar here, hamburger menu there, bottom navigation bar here. Because if everyone does this way, it must be right. But then I started noticing their competitors. They were all using different patterns and placements. I questioned why and realized that every product has its own user base and its own user and business goals. So it can only be designed for that. If Google does it, it doesn't mean it's right. It could be wrong, or it could be right for its users and wrong for mine. Even now, if you zoom out a little, you can see that I was still in the comparison mode. The only change is I switched from comparing myself with Dribbble designers with comparing myself with designers who work in these multi-billion-dollar companies. So clearly, copying their patterns didn't work. And eventually, I started deeply noticing the products that I use daily, like Amazon, Flipkart, Zepto, Zomato, Book My Shows and everything. None of these designs look like the polished ones on Dribbble and Behance. Like for example, take Amazon. It's chaotic. And for that matter, let's take Zepto. They're not using any perfect spacing system, but they work. I use them. Everyone used them. But then I used Uber quite frequently. One day it was pouring outside and I was in a hurry to go to a place. So I opened Uber, booked a ride, told the driver the OTP and got inside the car. A little later, I didn't even remember doing any of it. It was so effortless that it barely took any cognitive energy. That's when I realized Uber didn't design for users who are sitting on a couch in an air-conditioned room. They designed it for users who use it in bright sun, heavy snow and rainfall, who are in a hurry, distracted and just have few seconds to spare. So what really matters here is context. Contextual understanding, real constraints, real user needs. not aesthetics or other designers' approval. People will use functional products even if it's not beautiful, but they'll abandon beautiful ones if it doesn't work. Because, for example, people who use Uber, they don't care about how beautiful the screen is, or they don't care about how awesome the micro interaction was. They only care if it works. Once I made users my judge instead of other designers, every design decision stopped feeling heavy because I wasn't performing anymore. I started solving, and that's very liberating, guys. So if any one of you are in comparison mode, I'll tell you what 4 techniques I use to come out of it. It'll be very helpful for you guys. The first technique is decide who your judge really is. Before you start designing, write this down. Success is equal to users can do a specific thing in a time and effort. For example, success is equal to parents can book a tutor in under 2 minutes. That's your judge, not Dribbble, not other designers. Just does this work for users? So when you spiral, ask yourself, am I solving for the users or am I doing it for a show? If it's for a show, delete it. And set a timer every hour and ask yourself, if this never got posted, would I still make this choice? Second technique is shift your metric of success. Stop asking does it look good and start asking whether your solution help users complete their goal. Before you design, define one measurable outcome. For example, time to complete, error rate, completion rate. Every time you add something, ask yourself, does this move the metric or is this for sure? If it's for sure, cut it out. The third technique is work in privacy first. Divide your work into 3 phases. And the first phase would be solve. Here's where you create 3 to 5 rough versions and focus only on the function. Phase 2 would be refine. Pick what works best and make it look good. And the last phase, the third phase is share. Only share where it works and present it as here's what solves X and not what you think about it. The rule that I follow for this phase is I will not share until I can explain why it works. Lastly, technique 4 is stop making design your identity. Write this down in your workspace. I am not my work. Criticism of my design is not criticism of me. When someone criticizes your work, pause, separate the feedback from yourself and focus on what they are saying about the function. I have a challenge for you guys. Share your ugliest but functional design this week and notice if you survive or not. And when you spiral, say this out loud. This is about the design, not me. Say this 3 times and get back to work. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. Designing this way is scarier. You don't get instant validation. Your work might not get blown up in your portfolio or anywhere else. Some designers might even look at your design and think they are boring. But users will actually use them. And over time, you'll build something way more valuable than a viral portfolio. You build a reputation for solving problems that other designers can't. Because your brain is wired in a way to see problems that no one else can. Stop covering that up with other people's aesthetic. First, make it functional. Second, make it yours. And third, make it pretty. Once you freed yourself from comparison mode, there's another layer you need to optimize. How you structure the decision-making process itself. Because even when you're designing for the right reasons, your brain can still feel exhausted, jumping between strategic decisions, structural decisions, and aesthetical decisions all at once. And that's exactly what I'm going to cover in part 4, guys. If you don't want to miss part 4, subscribe to Design Files. I'll see you in part 4, guys.